Hello, everybody. This is going to be our first show for Paws Unleashed 518. I have here a very special guest, Laura Bacharach. She's my boss, she's my mentor, she's my friend. Laura, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Hi everybody, I'm Laura. I am a certified dog trainer through IACP. I am also a business owner and a founder of a rescue as well. I'm a business owner of North Country Paws for Obedience, and I am the founder of Project Paws, a non-for-profit in our local area as well. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm also very excited to be the first person for his show as well.
All right, so Laura, please tell us what inspired you to become a dog trainer.
My inspiration came from when I was a little girl. I used to help out with my parents at a local dog kennel and a kennel club where we used to help with dog shows. And I was about 8 years old, and I was inspired to kind of get into the groove then. Ever since then, it's kind of chased after me since I was 8, 10 years old. At about 15, 16, I started working as a kennel attendant in a local kennel in Pennsylvania. And in college, I volunteered in rescues and shelters, and it just kind of snowballed from there. No matter where I went, dog training and dogs just kind of followed me. So it was just an amazing thing. I think sometimes you figure out who you are just by seeing what comes to you, and no matter how much you either go to college or you go to different areas, it just kind of it finds you.
All right, so what can you share your training philosophy? Like positive reinforcement, balanced training, and kind of explain to everybody what that means.
Awesome. So for me, I try not to put a label on myself as a trainer. I really do truly believe in keeping an open toolbox and making sure that we're staying in the realm of what's best for the dog and best for the client that's in front of us. Even saying like I train the dog in front of us, well, that can vary depending on what lesson you're in. So continuing on my education, being well versed in positive reinforcement and your quadrants is really important. Making sure that you understand Lima versus life, making sure that you understand right down to your tools, you call your head halties, canine lifelines, prong collar, star marks. I think it's very important to have a well-balanced and well-rounded education. That's how I train. I train with a very well-rounded and well-balanced approach. But from a big standpoint as well, I like to look at the relationship, a holistic approach as well. I want to know that I'm doing what's right, what's best for the owner and the client in front of me, rather than getting too into the weeds of every dog fits into a box and every dog has to be type A, because I think that that's where you can kind of struggle and you can get into some trouble.
Well, I definitely agree on that. I would like to kind of when I look at it, I see dog training as music, and I come from the music world. There has to be a certain harmony. There are genres of training. There's styles, and obviously tools and instruments that I use. And yeah, I like the approach that it's more generalized into what the dog needs, what the human needs, instead of just I do only this, I do only that. So what's the most challenging behavior you ever worked with?
Um, for for a lot of trainers, we all find our niche. Um, for all of us, we need to make sure that we find that niche and we don't go outside that scope. I think when we're ambitious young trainers, novice trainers, we want to believe that we can do it all. One of my hardest cases was unfortunately a case with a dog and a child, and that is a hard case to handle when a dog is not doing well with a child in the household. And when you're working with that kind of situation, typically you can rehab it, you can work through it to an extent, But it takes a lot of headway, a lot of work on the owner's end. It takes a lot of work on the trainer's end and the dog's end. I don't handle those cases anymore. They hit too far and too far for the owners to reach and too close to home for me. And that was probably one of the harder cases. When we think of hardness of a case, I think sometimes we want to go into, well, how bad was the behavior? I kind of take a step back and I look at how emotionally draining and how emotionally taxing this is going to be on me, as well as how emotionally taxing is it going to be on the owners. And that's usually when I evaluate if it's something that's going to be well worth it for any of us to put the energy into.
So that's your approach, like when you come to a case like this, the overall evaluation and how the amount of energy it takes out of you and everybody else in the dynamic.
Yeah, I think it's important for us as trainers in our industry that we have to know when we can take a step back and make sure that we're doing right by the owners and the emotional end of it. Logically too, we have to make sure that logically we can handle that situation. Logically, are you able to make progressive learning and progressive choices for that dog and for those owners and that relationship and that lifestyle? But also you have to make sure that you're keeping your emotional check. Are you going to put so much energy in that burnout's going to happen fast? We don't realize burnout happens until we're really in depth into it. And I think a case like that, we in our hearts want to help that case, and it takes a tax. So I don't handle cases like that anymore. And sometimes it only takes one or two of those for you to realize it's not worth it for us. And there are plenty of trainers in our industry that do a phenomenal job, but it's not a case that I would take on.
Well, I can say about myself, I think that where you have a situation when you come to train a dog, and at the end or in the middle of the progress they decide to euthanize the dog. That's my so. But anyway, do you think that all dogs are trainable?
I think with the right approach and the right person and when all the things can align, I think every dog has the ability to be trained. Unfortunately, I do think that there are some dogs that chemically, maybe they just they weren't created the way that they should have been. I do think genetics play a large part in that too. That were they inbred? Were they not raised appropriately? Did they miss a lot of their milestones as they were raised? And the only way to do that is to do behavior assessments over and over and over, and to really hit some of those things. And working with a very professional trainer that understands those is important. Again, asking if every dog's trainable, I don't think it's I think it's a very vague question to ask. I think it's hard to say if every dog's trainable because it depends on the behavior, depends on the environment, depends on the person and how much energy you want to put forth for it. What's hard is you do have to play around with nature versus nurture too.
Yeah. So I think one of the examples for that is one of the residents of Project Pause, right? That she is trainable to an extent. You can train her more than that, but then that's just something that will be devastating for her in the long run. So yeah, I totally agree with that, and that approach that we don't have to pressure them to do anything. Sometimes if it's like for something that's safety or no choice, yeah, I would agree with that, but less pressure, better results.
Yeah, sometimes it's better just to learn how to be with a dog than to do so much with them. I think in a world where we are constantly going so much, sometimes I think we forget to take a step back and just be in the moment and see what is it that the dog truly needs from us, and always assuming that a dog needs thousands of miles of exercise, which some dogs really need a lot of exercise, but I think there are some that their training and their worth and their genetic makeup maybe gives them more apt to just exist with you. Or there's trauma that they have that, just like humans, we all have traumas, we all have skeletons in our background. Maybe there's times that we just need to be able to take a step back and allow it just to be and accept them for who they are and be able to support them and coach them and guide them through that too, while allowing us to bring the best out in them.
All right. Well, I would like to go back a few sentences ago when I said not to pressure them unless that's
Absolutely needed.
the technique you're using, but still there's an amount for every ingredient for it to be successful. Our, it's pretty obvious that the dynamic of dog training is the dog, the human, and us, that we come in and put some salt and pepper and kind of interpret the situation where we at the end of it we're basically translators between human and canine. What is one common mistake that you see with the owners when people like us try to train their dogs?
Unrealistic expectations. So I think that a lot of pet owners and even competitive owners, we are asking far too much of our dogs and not seeing how they understand or how they're going to break that exercise up. As simple as, like, if I wanted to take a dog that doesn't know how to walk and sit at the door, we just see it as taking steps to the door, asking them to sit and asking them to wait. But what if that dog doesn't even understand the calmness to the door or the calmness at the door? I think that we ask a lot of dogs, and I think even as puppies, I think that we have a lot of clients that 6 months old, the puppy has to sit, come down, stay, walk perfectly on a leash. And for me as a puppy, I'm like, at 6 months, they should just be exploring and have creative mindset and have the flow and motion of sits and downs and have beautiful play and engagement. And I just think we rush dogs so much, not realizing that you're going to have your dog for such a long period of time and you're trying to accomplish so much in a small period of time.
Yeah, it's like sending your 6-year-old to university, basically.
Yeah.
So how do you keep evolving your training methods?
Continued education. I am almost too obsessed with continued education. If you get through any of your industry, whether it's dog training or nursing or anything, if you get to a point where you're like, yep, I know it all and I can do anything and everything, I think that that's a point, and I say it a lot to my staff, of maybe the industry isn't right for you anymore. You should always be learning and wanting to read books and articles and watch videos and do podcasts and do all these amazing things to learn from other people, because whether it's something you might not apply or it's something that you would love to apply, there's always something you can learn. And that's how you grow. It's how you become innovative. It's how you create things that are more adaptable. And our dogs are constantly growing and adapting too. And I think that it's important for us to be able to learn from all those things rather than staying stagnant and kind of becoming complacent.
Well, I think it's like when you train your dog, basically, you want to kind of increase the challenge level a little bit so it becomes more interesting to them. Mm-hmm. So I think with us too, if we get stuck in the same level or the same same knowledge level, it starts to become kind of bland and boring.
Yeah.
Even though this is like the least boring field of work that you can and I say work, I would do this for free, right? If I didn't have a mortgage and bills.
Me too.
But if it doesn't go anywhere, we just feel like we're falling behind, and it kind of feels pointless, right?
Yeah.
So I think us and the dogs share that common ground with the challenging. We have to kind of evolve and feel like we're reaching to perfection in order to have that motivation and ball rolling, basically.
I mean, it's even here when we get to change up some of our dogs' day from they're so used to coming in and getting crated and going into play and going for a pack walk. If you just switch pack walk to play, some of the dogs get like, oh, that was amazing. This is awesome. Or, you switch up feeding your dogs at 4:30 instead of 5 o'clock. It's amazing how much that can change. But for us humans, the difference, the matter of the difference for us could be a matter of here's an article that is on relaxation versus playtime, or how to switch your dog from arousal to de-escalation, or little tedious things like that. And I think it's pretty amazing to be able to have all of those capabilities. It's an industry that's ever changing and ever evolving, and I think that's another reason why I got into it. Is it's not a stagnant industry. It's something that's always going to have you on your feet, which is amazing.
And how about sharing a memorable success story from your career?
I think for me, one of the most memorable things is being able to feel accomplished with owning a business that continues to grow a community, not just a community, but it's a family. Um, I don't think that I ever in a million years would ever have thought that when I was in college, my sophomore year, I designed our original logo, and came up with the name and everything. I don't think I ever would have thought sitting there in college it would have become as huge and as big and as amazing as it is now. And to, go back and remember the day that I opened up the door to one of our facilities, to some days just sitting in the two facilities we have or hiking on our trails at our Hudson Falls location. It's really humbling and really amazing to just know that it's a community. It's something that when you were 8 years old, you played pretend dog show with your best friend and thought, well, maybe someday this could be it, and here you are living it. As young dog trainers, I think it's something to know, if you put your head to it and your mind to it, any person can create their own business, but you can't do it alone. You've got to have a community behind you of staff members, of great clients. Just the community is really what makes a business tick and be amazing. That's what I'm proud of, is all of our connections, and that's what makes it so memorable. It's not just a business, it's not just a job you clock into. It's everything. It's an amazing, beautiful thing.
So you have a business with two locations. One is South Glens Falls. The other one is Hudson Falls. It's upstate New York, by the way. What will you say is what do you say describes those locations the best?
The ability to create long-lasting relationships and having an adventure with your dogs. It's something that my business partners and I strive to allow our clients to understand and our community to understand. Is it's not just training your dog. It's not just a 6-week class where you come in and you learn, sit down, come and stay, and you leave. We want to know, how can you strive for a lifelong relationship, a lifelong education. It's like having a whole academic plan for your dog. And again, it's just like us as trainers striving for the next best thing. I want to know how I can provide that for a dog owner too. It's okay, my dog learned how to come. Okay, now your dog knows how to do it on a long line. Now let's show you how your dog can have off-leash freedoms, or they can socialize with one dog, which you maybe never knew they could. Now let's show you how they can socialize with your family's dogs. And it's an academic plan. It's an amazing thing. It's reinventing and reimagining how dog training was 50 years ago, 30 years ago, even 20 years ago when I got into it. With you come to class, you go to 6 weeks, blah blah. Now it's really creating something completely innovative and different. It's you are part of something. It's not just a class that you come to.
What I like about Pause is that, and this always from day one, I love this about the company, which it will go above and beyond for anybody asking for help, and it's not only professional help, you know, it's also kind of like things around it, and uh, every time I witness or am part of something like that, the word community has more meaning when it comes to pause. So that's what I think describes, in my opinion, the company. So what's the biggest myth, in your opinion, about dog training?
Hmm. Biggest myth. I truly believe that it's having a timeline, that something's, so if you train it this way and you spend this much time on it, that it will be fixed in this time. I think a lot of trainers and a lot of handlers put a lot of weight on that, that you can give a dog a timeline to be fixed. I don't think there's fixing things. I think there's working on things. It's like us. All of us are a work in progress. For our entire lives, we're always ebbing and flowing and going through beautiful changes and shifts and becoming a better version of ourselves. So why should we be putting a timeline on our dogs? And I think too many times that's been given to dogs too. We have a lot of people and clients here that if we say group class isn't the right fit for you, let's enroll you in private lessons, your dog failed. I think that's the biggest myth. No dogs ever fail or drop out. It's you should always be striving just to be a better version of your dog's self, and how can we get you there? And I think that's a hard part for me, is that when some clients come from other areas, both when I worked in Pennsylvania and here, it was, oh, my dog failed, or he was kicked out, or he wasn't able to be part of that facility anymore because of his behavior. I think that's a big myth, and I think we have to really make that a debunked myth too. Is no, your dog's never should fail, and never should be part of that category. Dogs are always a work in progress, and that should be embraced a lot more.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But a huge factor of this is the human client, right? So the human client has those expectations, and kind of like, okay, I had a dog that used to be great without even training it, but now I expect this one to be as good as the dog that we used to have, and better.
Yeah, yeah,
But I'm taking classes. I'm sending my dog to a training facility. And they still won't stop comparing. So how can you what kind of tip can you give people for inconsistencies with the owners?
Giving your dog grace and taking a deep breath and letting it go. Sometimes we just have to be able to be accepting of who our dogs are. All of our dogs are their most important versions of themselves, and I think we need to be able to be accepting of that, and not so hard on ourselves and not so hard on our dogs. Find something that you want to work on and set that as your goal, and don't have 20 million goals for your dogs. Just have one. And when you achieve that, then you go to the next one. And when you achieve that one, you go to the next one. And I think goals and making sure that you keep yourself and others around you logical and not as emotional, I think that you'll be set up for success as well.
What about a secret move that you have, like a favorite move that you have that you never seen anybody else use?
Deep breathing.
Excuse me. All right, so tell us about like a secret move that you have, or something you've never seen anybody else doing, but
Yeah.
you do.
I think it's your body language. So I try and tell a lot of people taking a lot of nice deep breaths and grounding yourself is so important. So I don't think clients do enough of that. So deep breaths and thinking of yourself as a tree and rooting yourself into the ground, connecting more to nature, that can really change your mindset and your dog's mindset too.
Anything you would like to add, like in general, that we didn't touch base on?
I would love to see some more dog trainers pushing forward to challenge themselves more. So learning different techniques and not staying in a box and not staying in one area. Learning that there are so many different ways that you can help dogs. You know, whether it is staying in a specific camp or not, I think it's staying open-minded. I think sometimes we're so closed-minded because we are in such a hustle and a bustle society that if we just took a moment and learned about what someone else is doing, I think it'd be amazing, and I think it would take our industry to a whole new level.
Right, everybody. So this was Laura Bacharach. I'm gonna put down the information down below for the website, pause number 4 obedience.com, and for her Instagram. Follow us and keep in touch. Peace out, everybody.